Shalom. So, figured I would do the conclusion of this thing for the what was it called? I don't feel safe videos, whatever. Here, all right. The last two, I was on my phone and you know, cut out whatever. So, which is this is probably for the best anyway, considering what happened before with that, and then that there have been some developments. So I left off in my driveway. Um, man, talking loud upstairs. Um, I left off. So he was Matt, who we've been calling him. He we get him admitted at not open door mission, but Sienna Francis house. I'm talking to two of the staff members about what's taking place, how we got to this point. Me talking, just coming from over to the side and speaking with his dad. Developments with that, what's planned, whatever. All right. So, they had handed him two sack lunches. They had asked him like, "Hey, have you eaten anything today?" He was like, "No." And so they handed him two lunches. They were getting ready to transport him to the B side of the men's shelter. He gave me a hug. I said, "Hey man, I put my number in your wallet. All right, you saw me write it down and put it in there. You call me if you need anything." And I asked them. I said, "Hey, he's got numbers for his family." And they said, "Well, we can put it in his file or whatever, because I said, hey, he doesn't have a cell phone. Where's your public phone at? And they were like, man, I mean, some guys have ripped it out of the wall the week prior, and they hadn't gotten it fixed yet." I was like, "Oh man, okay, well, all right." So he's getting walked back to his. They start walking him back to his to that wing or whatever, and he was talking to somebody about what was on TV about some mission, some game or whatever that was on or whatever, like normal for all intents and purposes. It was really. I was like, all right, well, I had to hurry up and get out of there. My wife is still in the hospital. All right. By then, we had been texting back and forth, and she had gotten in the room and she was waiting for this and that, whatever, right? So, I was pretty, I would say, like, overloaded. With everything that had happened, I was trying to hurry up and make it back. I had to go back to the house first and grab my wife's charger. She wanted a Bible. She journals a lot and everything. And so she wanted that stuff. So I had to go back to the house, grab that, and go up and give it to her. And so yeah, got that done. Um, no, baby, no, go. It's my dog wanting to come in here. Hey, son, can you shut my door, please?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
No.
I said I wasn't gonna get interrupted, but it's okay. So, um, me and my wife were talking about the situation that night, and it just I was letting her. I was we were somewhat talking. I was like, babe, there's so much that's going on, but you're the most important thing right now. Let's just get this. I said we'll talk later. I said I don't even have the words for everything right now. And so the next morning we were talking, and let me back up. So that night, excuse me, the same night all that happened or whatever. Um, his dad's or his dad had passed my number along to his sister, the one that's in Iowa next to us, whatever. And so she calls me after me and my wife get home. She calls. We talk. I let her know what happened or whatever, where he is. I've got the key. She says, okay, you know, just personal things with everything like what's been going on with him. He's just, we'll just say he's been struggling. All right, and so um he well she rather she says we try to figure out a point to like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to work tomorrow or not. I'm pretty sure I am, depending what's up with my wife. But I'll let you know where I am if I'm at work or if I'm at home, so you can get the key. Gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Ah, boy. Sounds like I'm doing a karate chop every time I sneeze like that. It's crazy. So, I said I would let her know in the morning. I let her know in the morning. Um, I'm gonna be at work, and I give her my address or whatever, right? And so before that though, um, I'm talking to me and my wife are laying in bed talking about the situation, and I usually do a lot of my downloading, so to speak, overnight, and then I'm ready to unload in the morning about things that have been revealed to me in the spirit. And so my wife gets the full gist. And so I'm telling her everything, and she says, "Hey, she says I overheard a nurse in the um uh overheard a nurse in the ER talking about why it was taking so long for many beds, and it was that there were so many psych patients um going into the ER, and usually if the psych ward is already full, they it overflows into the ER until something gets cleared up, or if they have to send them somewhere else. But more times than none, they have to dedicate ER to psych patients that are coming in that can be triaged, evaluated in the ER, so to speak, for mental eval. And you get depending on if it's of their own recognizance or if they're being admitted there, it's a 24-hour to 72-hour thing, depending on however the circumstances are, how they got there, whatever. If they're admitting themselves, there's a certain time. If they're being admitted, there's a certain time, whatever. And it broke my heart again when she told me that. And I said, man, goodness gracious, it's just this stuff is really catching me, man, because the Holy Spirit is having me understanding on a level from what it says in the Word about um um blinding of the mind and tormenting day and night, and troubled and going to and fro, and double-mindedness, and not just double-mindedness from the standpoint of malicious intent, but people that have been severely overtaken um in the mental and spiritual state, to where for all intents and purposes they're helpless against it. um and so I go to work. um the lady, uh what was it, the lady, the sister, she comes up there and she gets the key. We're talking, and I was like, have you guys heard anything? And she said, no, not yet. If he's there or whatever. They were, his family is kind of at a point to where they were at a standstill on trying to figure out that they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And so I said, I'll be praying for you guys. Please let us know if you need anything. I would very much like the opportunity, given the chance, to speak with him again, and see how he's doing after all this. If you guys were able to get in contact with him, see where he is or whatever, up there. Because yeah. So she tries to give me money. I'm like, I can't take that. This is just no. She's like, I have to give you this. I have to. She pressed me. I'm like, hey, okay, well, you give me this, and it's going right to your brother as soon as I see him, because it had been impressed on me after I got off work to go back up to the shelter and talk to him, see how he's doing. I didn't sleep well that night because I just kept thinking about him as far as that first night, because I just knew the environment up there, man, and given the circumstances of what was happening with me and my wife, I couldn't take him. I couldn't take him home. I couldn't see to him in that regard in that moment. I had to think of other things. There are priorities, and so I like I said, I was just it was impressed upon me in the spirit. Hey, when you get off work, go see about the man. So I went home, chopped it up with the wife real quick to make sure she was good to go. She knew, what was going on. She's like, yeah, go, 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 whatever. So I go up there. Boy, oh boy, it's 11 minutes. I just want to make sure I'm not going too long or whatever. So I go up there, and it's one man behind the counter. All right, now it was one, two, three before the day before. Okay, and when I walked in, it was like the desk was right there. The check-in, the first check-in window. So nobody is at that one or the second one. It's the third one down. Um, and I believe it was him. It was the same guy that was there yesterday. He just wasn't a person I had a chance to interact with. And so uh, I'm like, hey, my name's Daniel. I'm looking for a guy that I brought up here last yesterday evening to get admitted for a bed, whatever. And the way this dude was, I mean, you know what it is. I'm just gonna pull my phone out for reference. He's got his belly right here. He's got his phone right here. He's like, and so he's like, you're checking on him. Like, I mean, you know how people are today, man. They are in a fog. They're in a fog these days, man. People don't know how to communicate, man. And so I'm still like, hey, yeah, I'm just checking on him to see how he's doing. Actually had a a I guess what you could call like a basket for him, like a stuff, like a few things for him or whatever. And so I was like, I didn't want to bring it in though because the wolves, you know what I mean. And so um, I actually had a friend up there before, and I made sure, I was like, hey, come to the car, and he got in the car with me, and I was like, hey, a little gift basket, like, hey, take this, put it in your bag or whatever, so people don't see what you got. And so I was like, I got some stuff. I wanted to see how he was doing, and I got some stuff for him outside or whatever, but I wasn't gonna bring it in, you know. And so this dude is still he does one of these. He like oozes up to the computer. He's on one of these chairs or whatever with wheels on them. He like oozes up to the computer. He was like, who are you again? And I'm like, my name is Daniel. I'm checking on such and such that I brought up here last night. And so he's like, he goes typing in, no, we don't have that name up here. I'm like, okay, I can tell you what time it was when I brought him up here because I can look at my phone and see the exact time I talked to his father. I give the dude as much rundown as I can without seeming too dramatical. This is what it is. Oh, he doesn't know. I'm like, and I look at my notes and I see I've given him a last name that's similar but not the exact one. I said, okay, I'm so sorry. It's this last name. All right. And so he does it. We don't have him. I'm like, look, I know he's here. I mean, can you tell me? I remember last year I had to go up there and when my grandmother passed, and let my uncle know, whatever. And so I was able to say it was an emergency situation because their policies or whatever. So I was like, look, I'm not. I said, man, I was helping them. I know the policy says you can't give out certain information to people there because people could be coming up there looking for them, yada yada yada. Look, I understand that. I said I was just helping the man yesterday. I'm not up here to hurt him today. I just want to make sure he's good. Okay, like I will sit here. You can have my ID, all that. I'm trying to reason with the man. I'm letting him know he doesn't know. I was like, he's mentally incapacitated. All right. Um, he doesn't have any family right here. Like, I'm just trying to make sure he's all right. Get him in touch with his family. This dude says, what does he say? I can't remember what he said. It was pretty dumb and disrespectful. Like, no, I would say it was pretty dumb and dismissive. And the way he said it, I said, "All right, man, I need to see your supervisor." All right, and he was like, "Okay, outside." I was like, "Nah, nah, I want to see your supervisor." He was like, "Well, you can talk to them outside." I said, "I'm gonna go wait right over here." All right. He was like, "You're gonna go outside, or I'm gonna escort you out. Or I'm gonna have you, I'm gonna have security escort you out." I'm like, "I'm gonna sit right here. All right. You have your supervisor come talk to me right here. There's no reason for me to go outside. I'm not being irate. I said I just want to speak to your soup, and you know how it is when you have weak. This is one of my Father. Thank you for this is something that I still have to be helped with. When it's weak people in positions of authority that exude their authority in a manner that's very disrespectful, and it's like they let that freaking mall security badge go to their head, man. And I was like, fam, you didn't even want to help you didn't even want to help me when I was here. Like, you know how it is today. People won't look at you, they won't acknowledge you. You gotta hit bells and everything. And so anyway, I I proceed to stand off to the side near the seats, and a guy walks up. It's a black dude, and he's got a mask on, and he's got a cane, and he walks up. He says, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" Now, I don't think he saw me and this guy's interaction by the way he greeted me, and so he was like, "Have you been helped already?" And I was like, "Look, maybe you can help me." I said, "I'm up here looking for somebody who I helped bring up here yesterday. I give him this, and as I'm talking to the dude behind the counter who says he's going to get uh, have me escorted out. He was like, "You need to go outside right now," and he's mad because I got somebody else here that I'm talking to, and he could possibly sidestep him and help me out. He's like, "You need to go outside right now," blah blah blah, and I'm like, "I'm not talking to you now. You didn't want to help me. I'm talking to him. Thank you." So I go back to talking to him. And he was like, "I'm going to escort you." I'm like, "Yeah, you do what you got to do." So I keep talking to him, and I'm like, "Hey, this is what's going on," or whatever. And now the dude comes out with the whole, "There's policy, blah, blah, blah. And I can't tell you." Yeah, yeah. I'm like, "Well, you didn't tell me that up there. You didn't tell me. You know, you didn't want to help. You started being very unreasonable with me. When I asked to speak to your supervisor, that's when I was like, there was no reason for you to tell me to go outside. You know what I mean? You got people in here acting more like for real irate, and the only reason why you want me to go outside is because, well, I didn't tell him. I was like, but again, after rehashing this, with my wife and telling her what happened and everything, I was like, you get them people that want to just exude power, and as soon as I was ready to go above him, that's when it was like he wanted to whole control factor. Weak people do that all the time, man. And so the guy says, he's like, "Look, yeah, man, I'm sorry, I can't help you, blah blah blah." And I'm like, by this time, security's coming over, and they were like, "Hey, this guy needs to go. He needs to be out right now. He needs to be." I'm like, man, I'm a terrorist up in here. I done turned into everything but what I done came up here initially trying to whatever. So um, I give them a small whatever, the cops or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, I understand. We got to escort you out the door though." And I'm like, "All right, fine." I turn around, and they walk me to the door, and cooler heads were prevailing because dude behind the counter, it was just ugh. Anyway, I mentioned to the cops, I'm like, hey, can I talk to y'all real quick and let y'all know what's going on? All right, because they were just escorting me to the door, walking behind me. I walk out the door. I'm like, can I talk to y'all real quick? I'm like, look, he wouldn't listen to me. All right, this is what's going on, and I give them the whole shebang, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I talked to Glenn up here, blah blah blah. Like, y'all can look at cameras, man. I'm just, this dude ain't right. I talked to his father right over to the side over here. His father says he's got, schizophrenia, and I said, man, the way he was last night, yesterday, I knew, I was like, I just want to make sure he's okay, because and you guys know what all goes on around here or whatever, and I just want to make sure he's all right. And they're like, what's his name? I give them their name, and then they both look at each other. They're like, oh yeah, we know who that is. I'm like, oh snap, is he all right? Did he have an issue? He get into a fight? What? And they're like, he left. And I'm like, he left? They were like, yeah, he left sometime between our shift coming in last night, well, before our shift started last night, and whatever. Left before their shift or whatever, and they got word about him, and that when he comes back, somebody had called about him having needing to be taken in for mental eval, or like mental custody, whatever, danger to himself, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, okay, all right, that makes me feel good. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm like, um, I was like, well, yeah, I was talking to his family, whatever, just trying to get. Like, okay, they were like, you got numbers for his family that we can put into our police phone, and then when we see him and get him taken in, we can contact his family, whatever. I'm like, cool. So I go through my phone, and I forgot to say, after I had talked to the sister that night before, her sister or his sister, gave my number to his mom. So his mom called me too, and I'm talking to the mom and whatever. So I'm like, I've got 3 numbers, okay? I've got the dad, the sister, and the mom. I'm like, here are the numbers. Boom, 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 boom. And they were like, yeah, yeah, okay, this is good. And so they leave. I leave, and by that time, I'm trying to remember what happened. So I go home. I was still, I don't get kicked out of too many places, man. You know what I mean? So I was still just, a lot of things going on. So I got in the car, tell my wife what's going on. I'm on my way home. I get home, and what was it? My wife. So I update the sister, and I'm like, hey, do you know what's going on? He's gone. And she's like, um, yeah, I think it was maybe some other family member got in touch with them about, maybe it was the dad. She didn't know he was gone. And so she said, I let her know what was going on, and she texted me afterwards and said, what was he wearing? You're probably the last person that he knows somewhat that, like you saw or whatever. So I give her the description of what he was wearing and everything. They said if he hadn't turned up by the next morning, he was gonna uh be they were gonna file a missing persons report. So um I said, I said, what was that? I said, hey, is it okay if my wife gets in touch with you, whatever? Like, what's her last name? Something like that. However it was, my wife found her or whatever. Found her on Facebook, friended her real quick, and she had put his sister had put up a, like, hey, if you've seen this man or whatever, this is what he was last wearing, whatever, whatever. And she put pictures up of him or whatever. Now I didn't notice that at all. My wife, she's like freaking Inspector Gadget with this stuff, so she was all over this, man. And she was like, oh, she linked his Facebook on the post or whatever, and she showed me pictures of this man. I said, oh my gosh, man, it just I don't know. I can't explain it. All I can say is I was like, I gotta get up and go look for him. I gotta. So I got up, and it was probably about 6:30. Um, go looking for him. It started to get dark about 8, so I came home. Couldn't find him. You know, went downtown, went east, went, things that I know about. There's a book that I've got called Lost Person Behavior that like search and rescue people use to help find people that are lost, kids, mentally incapacitated, dementia patients that have walked off, things like that, people that are kidnapped, things like that. And so I knew kind of how to look. And, one of the golden rules is, people will go where they know if they're lost. And if they aren't being, hunted or looked for or whatever. Couldn't find him though in those places to where I knew, based off of things that we had talked about in the limited interaction that we had. So, came home. That would have been Friday night, and I'm just, man, me and my wife were just, we're praying for this man. Me and his sister in, contact every now and then with what's going on. And so the next morning, the next morning I come downstairs. I was actually getting ready to do a video. I was getting ready to do a video on here to follow up with what was going on with it. And my wife, she's like, hey, they just saw him off of like 2 blocks away from us. Now, mind you, Sienna Francis' house is off of like 17th and Cummings. I know people won't know what I'm talking about here, but just get this. We live off of 86th Street. So he literally came like 70 blocks west. And they saw him at a Planet Fitness literally 2 blocks away from us. And the hospital we were at is not too far away from us. So I'm like, he must be trying to go where he knows, And I remember I said he was wearing a gray hoodie with the purple and gold emblem on it, but I couldn't see too much of what the emblem was because I was always focused on his face. I was focused on him. And so I go up there, and they said, yeah, somebody spotted him up there last night. And so I go up there, and I noticed it's all purple and yellow in there, and I was like, okay. I found out that he works out. He's an athletic looking dude, like I said, and he actually kickboxes. He's a mixed martial artist, from what I found out about him on his Facebook page. And so I said he's going with what he knows, So I asked the person up there. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for this guy, such and such, whatever. He was here, whatever. And they said it was a lady overnight that he had come in contact with, a staff member who put him in contact with somebody who got him a room for the night, like a hotel room. I'm like, I'm like, well, all right, this is good. He's off the streets. He's probably in a room somewhere in a hotel. He's good. He's not afraid. He ain't being harmed or anything like that, right? And so, but this person who helped him or whatever, he said, we've been trying to get in touch with her because his sister had called up here too, and trying to figure out, where he is. And so, and that lady doesn't come back on until like 4:00 in the evening. So I was like, okay, we go back up there around 4:00 last night. Well, no. So I leave from there. We looking at the time. We leave. Well, I leave from Planet Fitness after talking with the guy. I text the sister. She says she's aware. Such and such, such and such. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back up there at 4. All right, and I go back up there at 4 o'clock. I see the lady, beautiful lady. I'm talking about in spirit, beautiful lady in spirit. I talked to her. I'm like, hey, I'm such and such. I'm looking. She was like, yeah, yeah, that guy. I just got off the phone with the sister, and I was I was like, yeah, me and her are like playing tag team with this, right? And so she's like, yeah, the guy. I put him in contact with the guy that I knew that gave him a ride. No, no, no. Took him to his house. Stayed with him last night, and he has a ministry for people he tries to help. A group of men that um he passed him off to another guy today. Whatever. I'm like, oh, so it's not a hotel. Whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I forgot. Like when I left the Planet Fitness the first time, and I found out that he was at well, they told me he got a hotel room. I checked 2 hotels, the closest hotels around there to see. Hey, I'm not. I know this sounds weird or whatever, but I've got a friend that's this and that, and just making sure, seeing if he checked in. Nothing like that. So we had went back home. Well, I went back home. Went back to Planet Fitness at 4. She's giving me the spiel of what actually happened. There was no hotel room. He went to a guy's room, house last night, stayed with him. Then the guy passed him off to another guy in the ministry or whatever. That guy had something that happened with his family or whatever. And so he had to take him to the Sienna Francis house. He took him right back to the Sienna Francis house in hopes of, getting whatever he needed to get done and then go back and touch base with him. When he went back to touch base with him that day, the guy says, Matt says, look, they're getting ready to cook out here right now. It looks like they're getting ready to have some fun. I just want to chill. Excuse me. So he refused. I get all this information from the sister after I leave Renee. Excuse me, well, the lady, Renee, at Planet Fitness. So, what happens? Um, I'm like, he's back at the Sienna Francis house. Me and my wife were talking, and I'm like, oh man, okay. So I talked to the sister. The sister says, the first guy that he was with last night, whose house he was at, he's gonna, since he's a familiar face and maybe trust him a little bit more, he's gonna go down to the Sienna Francis house and see if he's still there, and see if he wants to go with him. Okay, and she said, I'll keep you updated. I'm like, all right, cool. So, um, we wait. Um, Me and the family actually went out to dinner last night, and while we were eating dinner, the sister calls and she says, "I'm sorry, it's a lot of time has gone past. Um, we've got him. We've got him. He agreed to go in to be admitted and get evaluated and you know and so she said she could just tell she was pretty hurt by the whole thing or whatever, having to take him in like that. Having to take him in like that. You know how that goes. I mean, a loved one taking another loved one somewhere, and they don't want to go like that, and probably hear all types of curse words and you don't love me and all this, and I was like, is anybody? I said, hey, take a deep breath, because she was still there with him. I was like, take a deep breath. Is anybody there with you? She says her mom is there with her. I said, okay. I said, this is for the best. I'm just giving her words of encouragement. I was like, me and my wife will pray for you. If you guys need anything, please let us know. When everything gets settled down and he can have visitors, let us know, and we'll go check in on him and stuff. And I like to whatever, follow up with him and see how he's doing. That was that. So he is safe now, so to speak, because there's still deliverance that needs to happen from the standpoint of mental affliction. Things that I was taught in this, things that I learned in the moment, and things that I was taught, and things that were revealed to me by the Holy Spirit after all this, after I was processing and downloading. One, the guy Maurice who got the cigarettes, familiar spirit, he didn't know me. His mind was gone. He didn't remember me from 25 years ago. But the familiar spirit in him knew what was going on, and that's why he came up the way that he did. Because he was more interested in him than he was me. Two, the scribbling of the words. Of the, because the thing was, the number that I told him to write down, my number, like I said, he got the last digit wrong, and he's asking me. He was like 9195. I'm like, no, 9192. So I saw him scribble, like right over, whatever. And like I said, when we got in front of the Sienna Francis house, and I was like, you got my number right. I pick up the sticky, and it's scribbles. It's scribbles. Matter of fact, I had to. I'll show you real quick, because I actually had to keep. You'll understand why I had to keep a few of these, because you'll see. This is what he did. Right there. That's his. That's his. So I'm like, oh man. And I know, like I said right then and there, I know what is going on. And like I said, and it broke my heart. So that's why I was like, hey, give me the numbers, right? And I'll do it. But the thing was, the Holy Spirit revealed to me, like with that clock test that I told you guys, the psychological evaluations, whatever do. Those are perception of reality tests, so to speak. How much of a grasp on your reality that you perceive do you have a tight hold on? All right? And sometimes if it's really bad, like I said, the clock, I was looking for a pen so I could draw it. It'll just look like a freaking oval shape, and the numbers are actually on the outside of the clock, and like it's like all I can explain it as, it looks like they're sliding off the page, so to speak. So the thing is that was revealed to me that broke my heart even more after this was this. Remember I told you he stuck a few sticky notes down. I won't show all of them, but I'll show this one. It says gang buzz, whatever that is. And I've got 3 here that I'm not going to show you, because he wrote down, when I said, hey, let's exchange information, the man gave me his full name, address, well actually just city, state, zip, his social security number, and his date of birth. I can read it. It's very legible. Looks like regular writing, but for some reason, he couldn't write my number. That was a mind trick of the spirit that was inhabiting him. Did not want me or him in contact with me, or him to be able to get in contact with me for further deliverance, for any type of godliness in his life, for any type of Jesus. And when the Holy Spirit revealed that to me, it broke me, because it took me back to Satan blinds the minds of the non-believers. That blindness in his eyes, he was writing my number, but the Spirit had him scribbling. And this happens all the time. You figure with people that get admitted, and the drawings and everything, they're being spiritually afflicted. So what he saw was the numbers, just like somebody writing a regular clock. It looks regular to them. But for somebody like me, who has a firm grasp on reality, who is not being subjected to the mental manipulation or spiritual manipulation of a spirit, it looks, what the heck is this? You know what I mean? That's what the word says. That's what the word means. That's just one aspect of blinding people to the truth. There are many facets and aspects of the way that scripture can be applied. You think about when the word says, talks about tormenting day and night in Revelation. You think about uh, not loving the truth. How many ways can that be determined? Oh man, or applied rather. Broke my heart, because it just gave me an understanding that anyway. There was one more thing. Oh, that's what it was, and I think I touched on it in this last video that I did on it, the second part of it, where I said it was enmity, that hostility that he was showing, the off edge on put all that or whatever to me, but he wasn't showing it to anybody else. Ask yourself why. That was enmity. That was, again, how I explained it to somebody yesterday who I was talking to. Isaiah, you recall the conversation. I said it reminded me of what the word said about when Jesus got off the boat, and the spirits in the man already knew who Jesus was. Have you come to judge us before the appointed time? They picked up on that quick, you know. And so that's where the enmity is. That was the off-puttedness. I was like, man, he switched. Of course he switched, because me and my wife were a perceivable threat to the spirit that was in him. Wasn't dealing with Matt. We were dealing with a spirit that knew exactly what me and her stood for. What flows through our veins, our heart, our spirit, our mind, our bodies, our temples. And that spirit was not okay with it. The way, like I said, when I turned around in the ER and he was standing within arm reach of my wife at a diagonal angle and saw me. I mean, I turn around, he's looking straight at me. Straight at me, just kind of like straight at me. Like I said, had you seen this guy, you wouldn't have surmised that he something was wrong with him. But we will know them by their fruits. That's why we have to walk in the spirit and see things for what they are. Another thing that I was taught in this. Because my first inclination when I was getting ready to address him was, he's got a problem with me. He does, Matt. That's not his real name, but Matt has a problem with me. No. The spirit in him has an issue with the spirit in me. The Holy Spirit in me. And so, still going through this process of being renewed by the spirit of my mind, because as I was talking to my brother Isaiah about this yesterday, you figure getting saved at 34, 35 years old or whatever, and being reborn again, being born again, that's a process of unlearning everything that you have had in you from a default standpoint, that has been drilled in you, that you were born into. You know what I mean? And so you see somebody sizing you up like that, and it's like, okay, he's ready to get it in, or he's got an issue with me. No. We don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but powers and principalities in high places, and you know the rest. So, more so of being taught that I need to be more walking in the spirit, in allowing myself to be wielded in the spirit, which I was eventually when I started walking up to him, and I started, just like I said, this love just flowed, washed over me for this man. Matter of fact, that's what it was. I felt when I saw his pictures, when my wife was showing me the Facebook while we were here, and I had to go. I was like, it was just the love washed over again, and I was like, I gotta go help find this man. Don't want nothing to happen to him, and feeling for him. as far as his affliction in the spirit. So, you know, being given an understanding. I promise you, my own understanding would have never led me to understand what happened with that number thing. You know, it was just like Holy Spirit was like, this is a trick of the mind. The enemy plays tricks. This is a trick of the mind, and oh man, it's mm. So this was a call out for me, being wielded and weathered and readied for things the Most High has for me to do. Because if the word says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations," word says there will be miracles performed, laying of hands, the deliverance, all for the witness and testimony of Jesus Christ, and to the glory and honor of God. These people, these types of people, aren't coming into the churches. They're not. They're not active. A lot of these people aren't actively seeking because they've been blinded. It didn't say it blinds the eyes. Word says it blinds the minds. You remember, mind can play tricks on you. Well, who's doing the tricking? Because who wants to trick themselves? Now, we can be, it says the desires of our own heart, but where do these desires come from? Where were they born? These are disembodied spirits that are over these principles, principalities over principles, or lack thereof, in regards to desire, lust, anger, lying, thieving, killing, murder, anger, jealousy, envy. These things, these aren't just things that, like, feelings and emotions or characteristics that your own characteristics that you're being delivered of, or people need to be delivered of. There are active spirits that have to be addressed, that are over these things, that have to be casted out. And we have to start going into these types of places, these shelters, these hospitals, street corners. Everybody's seen them. Everybody's seen these people that walk and talk to themselves. We have to start coming out of our comfort zones and get uncomfortable. Jesus did the most uncomfortable thing for us. We've got to start doing the uncomfortable things in the name of Him for these people. That will take it. Understand, everybody won't. But as I was saying to somebody yesterday, or maybe the day before, if they don't receive it, it does not negate the responsibility that we have to be obedient in sharing the gospel. It does not mean that we don't. We know only a few will get it. This is what the word says. Only a few will get it. We're not out here trying to meet a quota. We're out here trying to meet the responsibility of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. How can they know Jesus if they don't see the Jesus in us? You know what I mean? That's the only way that they can see Him, first and foremost, is the love, compassion, kindness, fruits of the Spirit that have been put in us to give out. That's what I was taught. The last thing that I'm going to say that I was kind of shown, I actually had a message coming on 2 Thessalonians 2:11. If that's the, let me see real quick. And I have been talking to people about all week here. All week. And how something was revealed to me. Because I'm gonna end it on this. What is this? Hold on. What is that? Okay. Says CERN found a new particle. Whatever. Anyway, I just want to make sure. Yeah, Second Thessalonians 2:11. Okay. Something was revealed to me about this verse. And this verse has this has been a very tough verse for me since my walk. Um and I would always pose a certain question, not the way I was supposed to. It was a pondering question. I'm like, but word says, asking ye shall receive, seeking ye shall find. Things will be made known to you. I wasn't asking the right way initially. It was something that I was trying to figure out for myself. Wasn't any not this one. Couldn't figure this one out for myself. I had to seek the answer the correct way in the spirit, and it was revealed to me something about this verse that I'm gonna have a teaching coming on here soon, y'all willing. It has to come. It's gonna come because everything that led up to, well, after, how can I say this? Everything that led up to what I was just telling you guys about had everything. This was an example given to me, and I'm telling you guys, it's definitely an understanding that has shown me a lot in regards to this verse with this whole entire situation, this whole week, everybody that I kept encountering. The guy that I told you guys about with the Uber this week, he is Spanish. He is English is his second language, so he was a little choppy. But when we were talking in the van on the ride up to my job, he says he goes to a bilingual church, and he was led about 2 months ago to go out do this to do this and witness, and he was telling people in his church, he was saying, this is what we need to do right now. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And he says people were just comfortable. He said people were comfortable. So many words. Remember, English was his second language, so excuse me. They won't do it. He said he was like they'd rather sit in there and drink coffee and listen to the preacher's words, whatever. But he's not, and he picked up his Bible. He was like, but he's not talking from out of here. And I said, man, you ain't never lied on that, man. You ain't never lied on that, because if we're not if we're not actively out there showing people the truth, what does the word say? God sends them a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false. Now, of course, that's not the KJV. Okay, it says, and for this reason, or for this cause, God will send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. If you ain't dealing in truth, as I said, you dealing in lies. And the lie, oh boy, the lie is everywhere for the taking. It's there by default. It's the lowest hanging fruit you have ever seen. And it's as soon as you turn this on, as soon as you turn your TV on, as soon as you turn your radio on, the lie is there, waiting and willing to deceive you. Waiting and willing. Waiting and willing to deceive you, to lie to you, to keep you captivated. How far does this go? And what does this 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 11 verse have to do with this? More on that very, very soon. But just remember, I'll say this. I want to say it. I'll say this. God is not a man that he should lie. And that's not me saying it. The word says that. God is not a man that he shall lie. That is it. I pray this is whatever it needs to do for people, you know. And I'll tell you, this. It's been twofold because it's helped me, especially, you know. Um, Man, this was a powerful teaching to me, an eye opener in the spirit to me. Um, God is love, right? God is love. Hallelujah. I pray you all are having a good weekend with your family, enjoying your time, and I will talk to you all soon. Shalom.